All right, it's Thursday evening, and we are off to a looking at these crazy shots here. I had a chance to look at them as I was putting them up. Some I understood, some I thought were pretty interesting. A very interesting way of approaching it. So we'll find out. We went from surreal to very real, and took a couple of hikes down other strategies as well. So let's see what we got here. First one up is Julie here? Julie. Oh, she's not. We'll skip Julie. Remind me, folks, if you hear me talking to Julie, we got to go look at her. Is this Pat Matthews here? Yes, he is. Hi, Pat. How you doing? And Sally's here. Pat, are you out there? There you are. Pat? Uh-oh. Pat, I can't hear you. If you're talking, I cannot hear you, so we may have to have you go out and come back in. Now, really getting frustrated with GoToWebinar. They seem to be doing this. This seems to be a never-ending problem. Of course, I don't know if it's GoToWebinar or if it's equipment that we all have here. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm not coming in as a user either. Pat, you there? Okay, Pat, I'll watch for you, see if you come back in, and we'll go from there. Because you'll want to hear what I have to say about your work. Looks very good. And Brian, Mr. Lawler.
Yes, I'm here.
This is interesting.
Thank you, I think.
Yeah, no, this is pretty cool. I mean, you added some graphics to it, and to try to sell it. And of course, that's something that we have to remember too. Sometimes a photograph on its own may not be, telling the whole story, but when we add the text to it, it snaps into place. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So you moved from the sort of the color thing into something that we're not familiar with.
right.
All right, very cool. Tell us what you did.
I do have a setup shot. I think it's the next one in queue there.
Yeah,
Uh, Started with the three guys. It's my brother-in-law and his two sons. And so kind of thinking through, not necessarily looking at the past, but this is where he's come to the future as
mm-hmm.
a grown man. And now the question of what's next? Where am I going from here into the time travel?
Okay.
So that was kind of the thought process behind it. So I started a few different ways with what the final image was going to be because I started them on gray paper, as you'll see in the next shot with
Right.
the behind the scenes, and then kind of moved to um, trying to make it stronger by adding a photograph behind it um, and trying to adjust it enough to give a little bit from surreal to real to futuristic.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what's next.
Yeah, and you got the angle of this shot, I think, works pretty well with these guys, doesn't it?
Yeah,
The
I knew shooting that, I was wanting them to go right, leading them from page left into
mm-hmm.
page right.
Well, the hardest thing, I think the hardest there's two things that are difficult when you're doing this type of work. Number one, you've got to know in your background shot which way the light's coming from. Now, in this particular case, didn't matter. It's kind of an overcasty light. We don't see any heavy lighting back there, or if we did, it's washed over here.
Yeah,
The shadows have to fall the same way. And number two, the angle of the camera. So when I look at this, kind of looking down on their feet, I'm wondering if maybe you shouldn't have lowered the camera a little bit. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because this looks like this street shot's taken from a fairly low angle. So
Yeah, um, it's probably about a put in a half difference probably.
yeah, yeah. Did you see the thing I put up on Facebook? The warp tool that's in Photoshop.
No, I didn't.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's you got to go see that. It's on Facebook.
Okay.
It's wow. That just blew me away.
Was
Um,
that
but you could actually warp these guys and fix this, kind of bring them up a little bit like this, warp them a little bit so they look like they're on the pavement there.
okay?
But that's fine. That's a little thing. That's something we can do in post. So um, that's like I said, that's the thing that I know is just a little bit
Right.
off with that, but very clever. A lot of work went into this. A lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of thought. I like it. I do.
Thanks.
Did a
Thanks.
darn good job with it. This is a hard assignment, folks. That's why we're just basically doing something easy like other people's junk next week, so their brains won't melt. Um, but this was kind of hard. It's almost this is a kind of assignment. It's almost it doesn't matter what you do as long as you do something because it makes your brain work. This is the kind of thing mental exercise that we do to keep our brains fresh. Very good. I see Julie came on. Let's bump back to Julie. We'll find out if Patrick, you out there yet?
Yeah, I'm here.
You are there. All right. Hang on, Patrick. We'll get to you. We're
Okay.
going to take a look at Julie's here. Hey, Julie, how are you?
Good, good.
Clever idea, kind of a um, Salvador Dali-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, very clever idea. Tell us how you did it. Is that you
Well,
there throwing the time around?
yeah, right. No, a lot is done as Photoshop. I took a picture of myself first on a stand and then in a white background and then deleted that, holding the clock. And then I copied the other clocks and distorted them and twisted them, rotated them and scaled them up. Um, and then I put it on a background I had with some clouds. I added some more and moved the clouds around and sort of did all that.
I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
Very clever use of it. Now, let me ask you something. If you were floating in the air,
Yeah.
would your foot be flat?
Um, no,
Right.
I
So,
had one up, but
yep,
I didn't get the other one up.
yep. And so, what you might want to do, like if you had to do this the next time, right, is to
Uh-huh.
just jump slightly, which would make the skirt move up and make the hair move up like you were floating.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
also, when
yeah,
you jump up, you're going to point that toe down.
yeah. It's hard to do a self-portrait and do this too. You
Well,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Right. No, I mean it was the first time I'd done something like that. So no,
I,
I think that is a good point.
yep, yep. That would just give a little bit of dynamics to it, but you did fine with this. That's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. As a matter of fact, you know what you could do is go into Photoshop and
I
grab
could
this foot
there is
right
a
here.
warp thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the what's it called? Puppet warp.
Puppet. Yeah.
Yep. Puppet warp your foot right down, and I think it would give that one tiny little thing on this picture would change it up so drastically. I mean, it would be like a whole different picture because you would then physically, to our eye, not be standing on anything. You would be indeed floating.
Okay. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very cool. Good shot.
Thank you.
Great. I love how you brought the cloud in front of this last one up here by the way, these
Yeah.
kind of in front, in back, the whole bit. Good job, Julie. Very imaginative. Um, love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Just really, really good. And there we go, Patrick.
Hey,
Hey, this is very clever.
thanks.
You put a lot of thought into this one
Oh,
too.
this took me a long time to just come up with anything. Um, so anyways, I went back and read, the paragraphs and what was part of the assignment probably
Hmm.
25 times.
Well,
So,
there's a
yeah,
fine line there, Patrick, between really want to get it and an obsession. Okay, so.
yeah, well, it was trying to find inspiration,
Hmm.
out of there. So, anyways, so I found a clock, which it's a lot harder to find a regular old clock than you would think it is.
Well,
I
especially when you
actually,
need it.
yeah, exactly. I
Mhm.
uh, I ended up at the library and I found one at the library. Um, then I wanted, the calendar to kind of look like it's moving,
Mhm.
month to month or year to year kind of thing. So I had to take the calendar and tape up the pages so they stayed that way, but it still looked like they were kind of moving.
Mhm.
I found a one-way street sign that was actually kind of close to my house. I was lucky with that. And then for the background, um, I just used a dark background and a long exposure, and it's actually a um, like a light for your bicycle, but it's actually like four small LED lights.
Mhm.
And I did I think it was like I don't know, say a 15-second exposure, and I just kind of waved it in front of the camera,
No, that's cool.
and then you know to tie it all together, thinking that oh yeah, you got to travel at close to the speed of light for this whole theoretical thing to work,
I
and it
just
looked pretty neat when I did it.
Yep. I just read a paper. Well, a synopsis of a paper. I'm sure that the paper would be about 5 pay grades above my brains, but on where they've always talked about in the movies warp drive, and
Yep.
these guys at NASA are saying, it's not impossible that they think that there may be a time when we can actually fly at the basically at the molecular structure. But warp drive, of course, was, and I can't remember Star Trek. I'm not a that into Star Trek, but I do love it. But I can't remember what was warp drive was like. It's like 100 times the speed of light or something like that.
I don't remember.
I don't know how we could do that. I don't know how molecular structure could move at 100 times speed of light. But these scientists were saying yes, that there may be a time when it's possible, and they had all this math that just looked
Huh.
beautiful. I had no idea what it said, but it was just gorgeous to look at all those figures and numbers and lines and squigglies and stuff. One thing you can do to make these pages look like they're moving
Yeah.
is to cut out each page right at the top, right here, just a little bit,
Okay.
right, and use the motion blur.
Oh, okay.
And then what you do is once you've cut it out, you hit the little thing on the Photoshop on the layer to lock that layer so it can't move off.
Okay.
It can only affect the
Yeah.
pixels, and it'll appear like these are coming down. Like
Oh,
it's
okay.
moving down. It's on a
Yep.
new layer, right? So then you put a mask behind it and just let it feather in a little bit, and
Oh,
you
okay.
the look of these pages, zooming up, the whooshing
Yep.
sort of thing. Yeah, very cool. How long did this take you?
Um, a while.
Wow. It's really exciting when I see how much work you guys put into these things. It's just fun. Good stuff. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Maybe we should do Brian's again, in keeping with the Back to the Future. We'll pretend we haven't seen it. No, it's Brian, nice little studio, my friend. What are what are these? Are these sound panels on the walls?
That's actually at work. So
Are those sound panels for Windows? Is that what that is?
yes.
Ah, very cool.
Um,
Yeah.
in our studio there, we have really high ceilings, and it's not very insulated. And there's an office on the left side there, and the right side's outdoor. And about 400 feet from that north wall there that you're looking at is a train track.
Oh
So
yeah, that's an ideal place for a video studio.
exactly. So
All you need to
um,
be is just on the end of the runway of the airport, just to add some color to it.
yeah, just spice it up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. My studio downtown is quite large. The problem with it for um, doing video and stuff is in the summertime, the air conditioning can only be off for about 30 minutes, and it toasts up real quick.
Yeah.
And the air conditioning's so loud, it kills audio.
Yeah.
I hate it. I wish we didn't have that here, but we do. Very, yeah, nice, comfortable little space to work there. Gene,
Hey, Don, how are you?
hi, very cool, Gene. This is an interesting approach to it. Very graphics.
Thank you. It
What did
actually
you?
started from a real photograph.
Uh huh.
So I got the inspiration when I went to Mexico City a little over a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to the National Palace, and there's a little museum in there. So at the entrance, they have two glass panels on each side, slanted, and so it's kind of like, you just walk through time tunnel. So at the time when I saw it, I thought it was pretty cool. And when we got this assignment, I remember that image. So I kind of, thought I'd take what I had and, work off of it. So even though it doesn't look like a real photograph anymore, but it actually built off of that image.
Sure. And you blended the two glass things together?
Yeah, I kind of they actually have a walkway for for visitors,
Mm-hmm.
and as I was editing the image, I kind of thought it was a little distracting because, as you said, a picture needs to be able to convey the image, the message. So I didn't think the walkway was adding value or delivering the message well enough, and not having the words and have to describe how we can only visit or travel in one way. So I thought I added, because they have words on, lines of words on those glass panels. So I thought I'd add motion blur to kind of, create lines to give sense of motion. But even that, I think it's still lacking some. So I thought by traveling, we probably are going to, where we have light. So I kind of, added a little, make sure the middle is a little lighter and, outside or the time closer to us is a little darker. So that kind of hopefully for people to know we're traveling only in one way.
Excellent.
And then I also the random number of years in there too.
And you put the math in and then put the dates over on the side, sort of randomly appearing there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Gene,
I don't know what formula is talking about, but I got it off the internet, so hopefully they're right.
or as right as they can be, I guess would be the. Very good, very nicely done. It's a striking image, and sometimes we have to do that, folks. Sometimes we do have to create images with photographs. This is just another way of doing it. And Gene, you like doing this type of work anyway. I know you like to manipulate and create different things with it. So, right within
in hindsight, I kind of thought if I just created everything in Photoshop, it probably would have saved me a lot of time. But I like working off of something tangible, and not just create something out of thin air anyway. So it was time consuming, but I learned something, or at least I know what not to do next time.
Yeah, well, I had a young designer working for me back in the ad agency days, and he was so good at taking his graphics were almost always made from photographs. So we had the ballpark here as one of our clients. So I went over with my big camera. You know, this was right at the beginning of digital. So I was shooting film on my big 35 cameras, and he took our little digital Olympus. And as I'm doing these kind of big straight shots, tripod mounted film camera thing, I see him with this little Olympus, like taking pictures of the seats and the worn out wood where the people, go up the ramp and the first base and all these things. He's just coming in tight and doing all these things. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. He's doing all this tight stuff. But what he was doing is he was creating fodder, so to speak, for his Photoshop. So when we ended up doing the comps, he had all these great textures and colors and things that were actually started as photographs. But by the time he was done with them in Photoshop, they were graphics. And I'll always remember that because I thought to myself, well, this is interesting. I had never really ascribed to shooting that. For me, a photograph was a photograph, And the difference was, of course, he was a young guy. He was like 23, had come through, he grew up with digital cameras practically, or the internet anyway, and the digital this and digital that. So it was very interesting. I always remember that. I always remember that shoot for that same thing. Nicely done. Ian York, boy, that's very, very bizarre. Ian, is this a reflection of something, or is this a wild, like a fisheye you're laying down, or?
No, I just I went to the local town, stood on the crossroad, took, I think it was 8 photographs as I went round in a circle, stitched them together, put them into a circle, and added a little bit of time warp in the middle. Now, I've seen in the past, I've seen people do sort of mini worlds where you warp it so that all of the buildings are on the outside. And it just dawned on me, perhaps I could reverse it and have the buildings go on the inside, and then I could do something in the middle of the image.
Yeah, you sure did. Wow. This gives you the kind of feeling that you are falling through something.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting there. It's a work in progress. I still need to improve my Photoshop skills because I couldn't work out how to get the tree to still have some texture in it and still have the warp tool behind it. But I'm learning. So
I will find out. There's a blend mode where you would move bring the tree up, put a specific color behind it, like replace some of the color that's in it, and then put it over this and use a blend mode. And I don't remember that blend mode. I haven't done it for years. Let me get a hold of my friend Steve, the Photoshop guru, and say, Steve, here's our challenge. How do we do this?
Well, I was intrigued to know. I saw a few tutorials online, but I couldn't emulate what they were doing. I just found I'd lost half the definition of the tree.
Yeah.
So in the end, I thought this is the best option that I found. So It was okay. For me, there's a message of time travel here. It's not necessarily forward or backwards. It's just time travel. So
you know what? Let me tell you what I would have done. Okay, on this shot, when I realized I couldn't do this, I'd have made the tree glow. Oh well, hell, if we can't do anything, let's make the tree glow. We'll say it's the catalyst for the time changes this tree here. So
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Cover up the problem with another solution. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And what is this on the outside here? Is this water, liquid?
No, when you use one of the tools that actually just warps it, it ends up pulling all of the background almost in sort of radial stripes. And so to cover that up slightly, I then just use some Gaussian blur on the outside. But what you end up with just a complete sort of radial lines coming out of it. That's just how the tool works when you actually just sort of try to make it into a circular pattern. And I quite like the effect, so I sort of left it.
What I like about all the images is all these images are striking images. And remember, when we're doing an illustration for a magazine, that's our goal. Our goal is to get somebody to stop and look at the picture, hopefully read the headline, and then read the text. And do you know why we want them to read the text? Anybody know? Because the text continues on the next page, and wrapped all around the text is advertising. Rarely does the article, just go straight 4 pages and there's no ads on those pages. I mean, it happens, but usually it's like, okay, continued on page 90. You get to page 90 and there's 2 columns of text and 3 columns of advertising. So, our goal is, as a magazine, is to get people to stop and get them interested in reading the article so that we can then thread them through the magazine. Very cool. Good job.
Thank you.
That magazine, you remember, the magazine exists to sell advertising. There's no other possible way a magazine can be on the market if it doesn't sell advertising. So creating something striking like this one, like all the ones so far, creating something striking is our job. Good job, Ian. Very nice. And Anne, you went for something very abstract.
Yeah, I was trying to show motion, that is movement.
Uh-huh.
And I think, yeah, and I did not show the time. So, but actually my idea was the vertical lines are showing movement, and the all those other lines going across and like getting into each other, that's like the travel that you have to go into the future. Like, it's a long way into the future.
Very cool. And how did you do this? It's a beautiful image.
I just cut up like fabric or ribbon, and I put it on a white background, but and between the white background and the fabric is like tissue that you would use for packing like a gift or something.
Okay.
And then I just used my camera, and I just put it at a very slow shutter speed, and then I just panned like right across my setting on my table. So by panning, I kind of give it a vertical. You see the vertical lines that, for me, they're creating like movement, and the fabric stays as it is. For me, the fabric shows, like the much travel you have to do to go into the future.
Well, I think if the text was sitting over this picture would work very well. What are these white things here?
That tissue has like glitter in it.
Okay.
Like pieces of glitter.
Okay.
So my camera was So my camera got that. Yeah.
Have you seen the Photoshop brush that makes these into twinkling stars?
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a brush. There's it comes with Photoshop. There's a brush that has like a 5 or 6. I think there's a 4-point, a 5-point, and a 6-point. You could actually take these and make these look like little stars twinkling out there. So it'd be the fabric of the universe, maybe. Could be.
Okay.
Could be. And when I do those little star things, I do them on a new layer. I always do them on a new layer so that I can rotate them. Otherwise, all of them look the same. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I like to make it a little bit bigger and then rotate it, change the opacity a little bit so it doesn't look so fakey. Very, very, very nice.
Okay.
Super. And we're back to the beginning. I think we're back to look at that. Wonderful set of images, folks. My goodness. All right. Next week is Another Person's Junk. This is still life. This is a people shot. This is whatever is in your basket, your genre, the thing that you like to do the most. Let's go through and find out. We're at assignment 29. I want to talk to each one of you that are here a little bit about what you like doing a lot. We just ended with Ann. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. Oh, there's Sally down there. Hi, Sally. How are you?
Fine. How are you tonight?
Good. Let's start with you. I want to know, like, we've been doing assignments now for 29 weeks. Have you discovered something in photography that you really like that you didn't know going into the workshop?
I think I was surprised that I like to shoot food.
Okay.
I don't think I'm good at it, but I like to do it and I want to learn more about it.
It's I love to shoot food. I'm with you. I don't do enough of it. I should do a lot more of it. Um, I love it. It's fun. I love the textures and the colors and all of that that mixes together to make food fun. And I also like the fact that I don't have to go anywhere. I can shoot it in a small set, and I think that's important for my.
Another Another thing I would be interested in, and I don't know if that falls into the category of commercial photography or not, but I saw some jobs on Craigslist already where realtors are beginning to hire photographers because so many house tours are going on the web, and I think I would really enjoy that.
Shooting the houses.
Yep.
Yeah, we have several real estate. Catherine Gooding, Bruce. What's oh gosh, um, Ridgeline Productions. Bruce at Ridgeline Productions is shooting real estate. Um, it's its own little genre, and I would say to do it effectively and to make money at it, you need to be pretty good with natural light, pretty good with Photoshop, because these days, uh, creating a not a fakey looking HDR, but being able to go into a room and get it lit with the light that's there and being able to present all of the tonalities of that room without taking in a ton of lights is important for your bottom line. Um, Realtors don't pay that much for the shot, so if you're there for a half day, you're really killing yourself. But if you can get in and get out in an hour, it's not bad. But yeah, we're going to talk about that, Sally. Thank you. I'm writing it down. I will make sure we get some stuff on that for sure. Cool, Patrick. How about you, sir?
Um, Food
Good.
is another, is one of those things that before this class, I never really, shot anything,
Mm-hmm.
or very, very rarely kind of thing. And now I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And some product shots, which, again, that was something that I never really thought about doing much.
You know,
And
in a
it's a little
small
more
market,
challenging.
in a small, are you're in a small market, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a small market, product shots are really solid because just about every town has people who make stuff. I
Yeah.
don't care what it is, they make stuff. Maybe they make iPod holders or maybe they make kitchen utensils or something, but there's some people making stuff everywhere. Maybe it's small, some of these wonderful small companies that are popping up. Um, y'all know I love drums. I have way too many drum sets, but um, in Tennessee and Kentucky and Georgia, these companies are springing up that are basically handmade drum kits. They're building drums for jazz and rock drummers, and some of these guys they only build 30 kits a year. They get a pretty penny for those kits for sure, but they realize that to sell a drum set for $20,000, you better have some really good photographs, or you just you know I mean, you can find really good photographs of cheap drums online, right? So if
Yeah.
you've got really good drums, you're gonna have to outdo those things. So, great, great product is fantastic. So let's look at both. Sally said food, and you said food. So the next assignment is another man's junk, right? Well, how do you tie that into food? First thing I think I would recommend is maybe some old food utensils. Hit the Goodwill, hit
Okay.
the
Yeah.
place where maybe you get an old coffee grinder or something like that, so that you can then take this assignment coming up, because we're right at this point now where I want to start pushing everybody towards those things they love. So no matter what the assignment is, twist it into something that will work for you as you start to build your book. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay, good. Fantastic. How about you, Julie?
I don't know. I'm just thinking that over. I mean, I think I've over this been doing some of the still lifes products and food, and though I liked this conceptual assignment, but that takes a little more time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I do portraits. I do that on my own
Mm-hmm.
with a business. Um,
But I love that you're doing portraits and on your own. And the neat thing about the food, and you were saying the small products and still life. The neat thing about it is that we can do it on our own time.
right.
I'm a big people photographer as well, but every time you go out to do a people shot, there's all these other factors that enter into it. Maybe they don't show up. The makeup
Right.
artist doesn't show up or gets
People
stuck
cancel.
in traffic. People cancel. And that just never happens with still life. I don't have to leave my studio. I don't have to leave my house if I want to. I can set up a little card table somewhere and bring my boom over and start to make photographs. And I can do this at midnight if I want. My wife and daughter,
Right.
they're asleep. I can go in the living room and make photographs. Can't do that portrait wise. I think my wife and daughter would freak out if oh yeah, by the way, like, while you guys are sleeping, then I'm going to have a bunch of people over do portraits in the living room. It's not going to go over very well.
Right. Right.
So there's always those considerations. I have a good friend who has a very bad hip, and that bad hip prevents him from doing a whole lot of photography that he would have really liked to do. And I've been slowly getting him excited about product and still life, because he can do that in the studio. He doesn't have to trudge around anywhere. He's got a nice little studio, and it's just been a real godsend for him, because he loves photography, and now he gets to do it. Where it was harder for him to do before.
Right.
Very good. Gene, how are you? What do you like?
Um,
What have you discovered?
I really like the flexibility of doing still life. I think it fits my preference.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I haven't done enough of it because I haven't been, showing up every time with every project. But what I have learned so far is I don't think I'm very patient with working the little light here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously need to give myself a little more time and give, this genre a little more time
Yes.
for me to get to, learn it a little bit better and maybe, find out a way to enjoy it. Not saying that I'm trying to force myself to like it.
Exactly. And maybe you set something up in the den, or in the dining room during the week when it's everybody's eating in the kitchen or what have you. Set something up and leave it set up so you don't feel that you have to get that thing done by 4 o'clock because you have to tear it down and do something else. Leave it set up and go back to it again and again, and work with last year, for at the beginning of last year, and I stopped doing it for a number of reasons. I've got to get back to it. I have to. I called it 1 hour improvisations, and for 1 hour each week, I would take something, had to be a thing. It wasn't going to be a person, a thing, and spend an hour photographing it and see how many different things I could come out. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. And I need to get back to that, but that might be something as well for you. Just
Yeah.
Instead of making it totally open ended, which I think you should do, also throw yourself some challenges. You've got 4 forks, you know, 4 plastic forks, all different colors, and you've got 1 hour. What can you
Okay.
do?
Yeah.
And have
Yeah, I've
fun
done
with
it time, but I like your idea of committing to 1 hour at least per week, so it's more of a routine, so I don't, get distracted and do something else.
it. Exactly.
Last, actually, one afternoon, I just kind of like the way the light looks, and started playing, and before I know it, 2 hours went by. So I think if I do more of that, of course, I was still working mostly with natural light last time. I think what kind of get me impatient sometimes is working with the artificial, and then adding little cards here and there, and that's what kind of got me. So I need to, I guess, get more proficient with that.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And you'd be surprised. I think people would be surprised at what 1 hour a week of intense work with the camera can create.
mm-hmm.
It's mind-boggling. Really,
Mm-hmm.
it really is. Ian, how about you, sir?
Well, I'm still on a bit of a voyage of discovery. I know what I don't like particularly. I find it very difficult to give direction to people. I know what I want, but I can't articulate it, and so I find it quite frustrating. And I'm probably giving the wrong vibes as well, because I am finding it frustrating. But an area that I hadn't really ever explored before was the whole area of tabletop. And I don't know whether it's something I really want to do, but it's certainly something that's new to me, and I find that quite exciting because I've never done that before. But the whole area of just being such a task and having to think about your photography isn't something I'd ever done before. I just used to take photographs. So now being focused, so I'm just thoroughly enjoying the challenge of actually thinking through an assignment from beginning to end, and trying to sort of map out something in your mind and delivering it. I mean, for me, the most exciting thing is when I've actually have an idea, I've delivered it, and it looks like what my original idea was, and I think that's what I wanted, and I've done it. So I'm really thoroughly enjoying that part of it.
And has that transferred over a little bit into the personal work that you do? You do sort of environmental landscapes and places around you, right?
I do a little bit of that. Yeah, I'm lucky. I happen to live in a reasonably picturesque part of the UK, so I have access to places like that. I'm thinking more about my environmental stuff, but I have to say, probably in the last 3 or 4 months, I've done very little. So I've actually moved away from that, and sort of perhaps more towards the tabletop stuff, mainly because I've never done it before, and you stimulated something that I hadn't done, and I was just wanting to learn better and understand lighting better.
Absolute fun.
In
Really,
some ways, you
that's
could
great.
say the landscape's still out there. I can always go at another time, whereas I just want to learn more about just lighting. Now the proud owner of 3-speed lights, I've got to try and use them.
And I've always said, if I was king of photography, and I had to set it up, I would start every photographer on tabletop so that they would learn to use light in a tiny area. So it wasn't a physical thing, like, it's one thing to be a photographer. It's another thing to have 4 lights that you have to carry from the car up 4 flights of stairs, take 3 trips up and stuff. It can wear you down. And yet in tabletop, and the other thing is I would start everybody with hot lights, not strobes. So they could see the light as they moved it, and see what just a tiny touch of movement can do to the lighting on that project. Within a month or two, moving over to strobes, shooting outside and whatever is so much easier because you understand the light and what I call subject-centric lighting, how everything reflects and how everything to show texture, how everything needs to be lit to do those things. Texture, dimension, contrast are all so important. And we started photography backwards. Most of us, we buy a camera and we go out to do photography, and we go out for the big things, and then we wait for the little things. And actually, we should start with the little things, and the big things would be so much easier. So, very cool. Thanks, Ian. Brian, about yourself, my friend.
Excuse me. Well, as far as what I like is, just the real life documentary and travel. and those two to me really go hand in hand. As far as discovering, um, I don't know. I'm still kind of struggling with that. You know, like many have already said, you know, the still life, um, and just being able to capture it where you know you've done a good job with just capturing the still life, but then um, starting to play with the lighting more to now what can I do that makes it different from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that's been a fun discovery. You know, last year when I started with all of this, you know, saying that lighting is kind of the weakest link that I have.
And you're a full-time video shooter, right?
Yes.
Now, has any of what you've done here, has it transferred into your video work? Are you more deliberate with your lighting?
Yes, and I mean, and even in video, I mean, I've always struggled lighting as kind of the weakest link of my skill sets because, like in college, they just taught us how to studio light, and so it was just you know big floodlights,
Turn them all on.
turn them on, bake everybody, and you got it. And you know, it wasn't until afterwards I'm going, wait a minute, that's not. There's more to it. Um, So to me, that's I mean, it's almost like a new discovery every time I set up a light.
Did I tell you guys about the set of Law and Order? But guy I went to high school with um, became the art director for the Law and Order, the one that used to be on Wednesday nights, the original Law and Order.
Yeah.
And the shooting set was down on the Chelsea Pier in New York. And when I was in New York uh, for a workshop, he called me and said, "Hey, you want to come down and tour the set?" And of course, I'm like this giant Law and Order fan. I want to be there. First of all, I was shocked at how small the set was. I mean, cameras and lighting can do amazing things. If you remember the show, there's always a courtroom scene.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the courtroom scene was always shot, you know, and I never noticed it. That's how good these people who make these films are. I never noticed it. It was always shot from one angle. Actually, two angles. It was either shot over the jury towards the judge, or from the back of the room towards the judge, slightly from the right. That's because the right side of the room was, of course, other sets. The office where the guys were, the place where they lock up was right there. They just turn the cameras around and shoot the lockup scenes. So typical movie type set. And all the lights were pre-hung. I mean, they didn't go in and light every show. The courtroom was lit, you know. So they turned the lights on so we get a sense of what it was like under there. Oh God, it was 115,000 watts of light. And that room heated up so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable. Yep. Turn all the lights on. The video guys are here. Of course, they shot that on film. That was a single camera shoot, but it was a blast. It was a blast to see how they had done that and all the different special lights that they would have. They had little spots that come down on the where the judge sat. Now, when you saw it as a on the tube, it looks like lights coming in the windows, you know, just falling down in the courtroom. It's all done with specials. It's really amazing. Anne, how about you? How are you doing? What have you discovered? And how has it transformed into other parts of your photography?
Yeah, I'm really liking the still life, and also so much into Photoshop right now. So I really want to learn more about the Photoshop part, the post processing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly I like the still life. I really enjoy that. I've shot some crafts for a few people, mostly sugar crafting.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something I enjoyed doing, and I want to keep doing more practice on that.
Excellent. I am working right now on collecting, going on YouTube and finding the best YouTube Photoshop videos that I can find. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of terrible ones. But I'm going to start adding those to our classes
Okay.
so that we have some Photoshop for the folks who really want to learn it. There'll be a couple of Photoshops. There probably won't all be. Are you familiar with Phlearn? And Phlearn, Phlearn.
No.
Is anybody on here familiar with Phlearn?
Yeah, I've seen a few of their videos.
How do you spell that again?
Phlearn. Who was that? Was that
It's Brian.
Brian? And was that Julie who piped in and knew a little bit about it?
Jean. It's Jean.
Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very good. They are very good tutorials. And they want to. I think they want to sell you their premium tutorials, and so they do it the best way to market that they can, which is they give you out free content, and they put something out all the time, and I very much like the way they work, and work with Photoshop. So I really recommend the Phlearn videos, and we're going to start adding those to the assignment, and also creating it over on my YouTube channel, so you can pop over to the YouTube channel and have just a whole ton of videos, and I'm going to organize them by beginning, intermediate, advanced, and so they're not my videos; they're other people's videos. I'm just going to sort of catalog them for folks. Well, very cool. That's exciting. Thanks everybody for coming along. Any other questions? Any comments? Questions before we leave?
Don, can I have a quick question?
Sure.
So we've been talking a lot about, still lifes and stuff in terms of interest. I'm also very interested because I love traveling, and I also, always take travel photography when I'm traveling.
Mm-hmm.
How big of a market, and that, I guess marketing-wise, it's going to be different, right, for travel photography?
Yep, travel photography is its own genre. Obviously, it has it's based in magazines, resorts. So there's lots of money in travel photography. But yeah, let's look at a travel photographer here real quick. Who? Oh, I know. Tara Dunn. Now, Tara is a travel and food photographer. So she blends her travel with her food. Let's go take a look at what she does here. I love her work. She's a fantastic photographer. Okay, so she does food, as like you can see here. And then let's look at the travel. Notice how many quote product shots. Okay. Here, here, here. They're not product in the sense of a blender or something, but they're things. See how she combines it all into her work? Everything from drinks to a lot of food, inanimate objects. Quite a wonderful photographer, quite gifted. I like her work a lot. So yes, that's and I think in her lifestyle she probably has the same type of things. And then Vanessa Rees, are you familiar with Vanessa?
No.
Vanessa Rees is another still life slash food shooter. That she started in food. She's doing more still life now, and her still life is somewhat travel related, but Is this beautiful work? Isn't this just gorgeous?
Yeah, very beautiful.
Um, Man, she started to do people, well, some people and stuff, but mostly food. But yeah, the still life market and travel market is very solid, and lots of work being done in it. You market first regionally, and now, where are you? Are you, Gene? Are you located?
I'm in LA.
L.A. Okay, yeah. So you've got a great market over there. Um,
Okay.
Lots of competition. But you know what lots of competition means? Lots of competition means there's lots of work. Because
Mhm.
I can tell you, you can move to Tucson, Arizona. There's no competitors in travel photography down there. None. Because there's no work. So you can be the only fashion and travel photographer in Tucson, and you're not going to get any jobs. Where in LA, there are lots of things going on there. But and then the other thing, Gene, is once you get established and you've got your foothold, you'll probably spend a couple of weeks a year in New York, like one in March and one in October, showing the book, meeting the editors and stuff, that type of thing. Did you catch the interview that we did with Jennifer Boomer?
No. Was that recent?
It was not too long ago. Um, did
Was
anybody did anybody else get it? Or was this on that? Was that on the other group? Was that on the other group?
No, I
Oh,
saw it.
Okay, you did see it.
Yeah.
So it's let's see if it's on the site here.
I think it was November.
I believe it was in
Yeah.
November. Yes.
Like
Uh,
before Thanksgiving.
she was so gracious to come on and talk about her marketing. And she's the only. You guys, this was all for. Yeah, here we go. Um, Here you go, Gene, right here. Um, Jennifer Boomer has on self promotion right there. So
okay.
it's a good little look into how she does it. Now Jennifer lives in a tiny market, tiny little West Texas town, and shoots national clients.
Okay.
And she discusses how she does that.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Yeah, Dawn, I had a question. This is Anne.
Yes, Anne.
Uh, so sometimes when because I'm practicing, so I normally just ask people that I can shoot their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some, yeah, sometimes they ask for portrait, like for their Facebook or for just maybe for their
Mm-hmm.
website. And I was wondering, how would you recommend, like, if you wanted to start like portrait, like, would you say maybe like studio is better, or maybe like and like using daylight would be much better,
Um,
or what would your
where are
suggestion
you
be?
where are you located, Anne?
Rockville, that's like I would say closer to DC. I would say
Okay, so
Maryland, Rockville, Maryland.
yeah, so right now going outside is probably not a good plan.
No.
No. Um, I would say yes. I would absolutely. I'm not going to say probably. I absolutely would start out with window light and reflectors.
Okay.
Window light and reflectors.
Okay.
And a
Okay.
big white reflector on one side, capturing all that window light on the other side. Work with that, and then work your way
Okay.
into
Uh-huh.
some studio lighting, so that once
Okay.
you learn, I mean, the window is just a big softbox,
Uh-huh.
and vice versa. So once you learn how
Yeah.
to use the window, you could set up a interim thing would be a scrim, like a shower curtain with lights behind it, and then eventually it's a big softbox, but it's still a window light. That's all. That's all we're doing is modifying, or making that. But yeah, I would start out with window light and big white cards. Yes.
Okay. So do you recommend gray backgrounds or white backgrounds? Is that
Well, you know your white
what?
background's going to go gray the farther you bring it back from them, right? Because it's going to get less light on it.
Okay.
So if you start with
Yeah,
gray,
that's true.
if you start with gray, it's going to start coming very dark gray as you pull it farther back. I would grab
Okay.
like a 4x8 sheet of foam core and put a stand
Uh-huh.
on it so it stands upright, and then move it closer or farther away from your subject till you get the tonality that you like. Then, if you want color on it,
Okay.
simply hit the fabric store and get like a piece of red
Uh-huh.
fabric and tape it on the
Fabric. Okay.
board. Yeah, just wrap it on the board and tape
Okay.
it. Then you have a red background and a blue background, whatever, because it's just a headshot, and you can do so
Yeah.
much with it. If you tilt it towards the light,
Okay.
towards the window, it'll get brighter.
Yeah.
Tilt it away from the window, it gets darker.
Okay.
Put a flag in front of it, and then so that the light from the window isn't hitting the close side of the color, the fabric, right? But it will hit the fabric on the other
Of the
side
fabric.
of
Yeah.
the person. So you have the lit side of the person against the
Yeah.
shadow side of the fabric, and the shadow side of the person against the lit side of the fabric. You can instantly create
Okay.
all of the chiaroscuro effects of lighting just by tilting that or angling that backboard. And I'm doing that right here in case you can see me. I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. If somebody's watching me, they go, "What the hell is he doing?" I'm angling a board, people.
Yeah.
You can do so much with it.
Okay.
That I'm making notes here. I think maybe I need to do a little sort of YouTube, a little video on using
Uh-huh.
window light and just all the different things you can do with the window light.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, because I was watching your the Udemy classes,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, I got some good information on there. But I just wanted to ask if there's a better way where you recommend somebody to start. Like, I've not been shooting people at all, so
Nope.
this would be my.
When it gets a little warmer outside, sometime
Uh-huh.
August maybe for you guys,
Uh-huh.
you can just open up like the garage door
Uh-huh.
and then just use, if they're sitting inside the garage and it's all lit outside, it's just absolutely stunning light,
Okay.
and then you can use white cards or shower curtains or silk, get a couple of sheets of silk from the fabric store, hang
Uh-huh.
that off off a boom or a rack in front of them, and so that then the bright sunlight that's out there, it's just ambient sunlight, it's not hitting them, it's just
No.
lighting up. It even softens up and becomes more controlled in the eyes, so you can do so many things so simply and even create a style
Okay.
as you're working there. But that would be my very favorite, is I would start you there with the open door. So it's north
Okay.
light, basically. Even though it's not north, it's north light because they're in the shade lit by ambient light, and modify that. But it's like minus 20 degrees or where you are, so that's not going to work. So
Yeah.
start with the window light. Yep,
Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
you're very welcome. Cool. Anything else? Fantastic.
John, this is
Yes.
Sally again.
Hi, Sally.
Uh, give us a couple more ideas about what you say the genres are that we could be thinking about. I'm also interested, I know, in travel without even, doing this. And I'm also trying to think in terms of perhaps an hour around me. I live pretty far out in the country, but I have some decent-sized cities close to an hour away.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an area that is pretty heavily kind of farming.
Right.
There are Amish here. They sometimes want work done on products, brochures, and items made. So, I mean, much as I think I'd love to become really savvy at food shooting, I'm not sure how many jobs there would be for that around here.
And you're probably right. If you're very rural, food would be a difficult subject to do on a local level. But just like Jennifer Boomer, she shoots food, lifestyle, and rock and roll for national magazines, right? She lives in West Texas. So she does very little of her work is done, around the town. Most of the time, most of her big work is done outside. She has to get on an airplane and go do an assignment. However, you've always heard, and I know you guys have always heard this saying when someone says, "Well, I want to be a writer. What do I write about?" And what do people tell them? Write about what you know, right? Well, it's the same thing with photography. Photograph what you know, and you know that area. The Amish farmers, there's food. There's food there, right? The Amish food, and they grow their own vegetables and all this stuff. You've got the Amish. You've got the whole rural marketing thing. From cow to milk, all of that. That rural farming thing should become your fodder. Photograph what you know first. So even if it's people and portraits you like, that's it. If it's travel, shoot it. Photograph your area as though it was a destination that you had gone to. We humans have this ability to disregard our own place, our own environment, and think that everybody else's is better. When my friend came to go to Utah with me, he'd never been to Arizona. He's from Houston, Texas, and spent most of his life right there in flat Texas. And he gets to Arizona, and we're 20 miles out of town, and we're in these big, rugged desert mountains. And he's going, "Oh man, this is so cool!" And I'm going, "What? What are you seeing?" "Well, that mountain, it's so cool." I'm like, "I see that all the time." It's like, yeah, but he's right. It is cool. I'm just used to it. And so there are photographers. They send photographers from Japan over here to photograph Arizona because they're like going, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And yet photographers in Arizona aren't doing it. We think we have to go to Japan. We go to Japan and the Japanese photographers go, "Well, why do you want to go down there?" You know, that that's just this part of town. When I was in Singapore, the guy that was showing me around Singapore, I was saying, "I want to see this part of town." He goes, "Why do you want to see that?" Because you're taking me to malls, my friend. I don't need to see a mall. We got malls in Scottsdale. So we have that. So what you have to do as photographers, all of you, is to say, "Wait a minute, I can't travel right now. I can't get on a boat and go to the Caribbean, but I have my area here. And there's got to be, Sally, there's got to be some cool mom and pop restaurants around you. There's got to be some, farmers and people who make their own pickles and what have you all around you." That becomes your fodder. You could spend 2 years shooting that and keep sending it to magazines and stuff. And pretty soon they're going to go, "Wow, this person really knows this product. She really knows the rural lifestyle. She's got the people and the food and the tractors and that." And we're going to do a shoot. We want to do something of the sustainable farmers of Oregon. And you get the call. That's how you do it. Does that make sense? Does it make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Cool. All right.
Do you
Yeah,
find
Don.
oil?
Yes, it does.
Good. Good. All right. Well, I will let you guys go, and I will see you next week. And if you have any questions, I've just helped a couple of guys on some bids. So if anything comes up and you need me, I'm here for you. So it doesn't have to be a once a week thing. If you need me, I'm here. Okay. All right, folks. Have a great one. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thanks, Don.
You bet.
Thank you, Don.